Conditions for Hajj to be obligatory. 18. There are 8 conditions for Hajj to be obligatory for a person. These are as follows. 1. One must be a Muslim. Non-Muslims are not obligated to perform Hajj. Accordingly, if a non-Muslim performs Hajj and then converts to Islam, they must perform Hajj, again if the other conditions are met. Likewise, if a believer performs Hajj and then may Allah protect use apostatizes from the faith but later repents and returns to Islam, they must perform Hajj again if the other conditions are met. 2. One must have reached puberty, a child, even if of sound mind and capable of distinguishing between right and wrong, is not obligated to perform the Hajj. Any Hajj they perform is considered a voluntary act, nafl. Therefore, once they reach puberty and fulfill the conditions for the Hajj, they must perform the Hajj again. A child performing Hajj with his or her guardian is guided by the guardian through the rituals. The guardian has the child stone the pillars and perform TAWAF, so that when the child grows up, he or she can perform the duties more properly. If the child skips this stoning, it does not matter. This is because Hajj is not obligatory for the child. 3. One must be of sound mind. Those who are mentally ill are not obligated to perform the Hajj if they recover and meet the conditions for the Hajj. Then they must perform it. 4. One must be free. Slaves and concubines are not obligated to perform the Hajj. Any Hajj they perform is considered a voluntary act. Once they are set free and meet the other requirements, they must perform Hajj. 5. One must be aware that Hajj is an obligation. That is to say, a person who is in a land of disbelief, dari, harb, a non-Muslim country, and accepts Islam is not obligated to perform the Hajj unless they know that the Hajj is an obligatory duty. However, in an Islamic country, such ignorance is not considered an excuse. Therefore, a non-Muslim residing in an Islamic country, whether or not they know that Hajj is obligatory, becomes obligated to perform Hajj if they convert to Islam and meet the requirements for Hajj. 6. There must be sufficient time available to perform the Hajj without difficulty. Therefore, if a person dies before finding a suitable time to perform the pilgrimage, they are not held accountable for this obligation. 6. There must be sufficient time to perform the Hajj without difficulty. Therefore, if a person dies without finding a suitable time to perform the Hajj, after having fully met all other conditions for the Hajj, they are not obligated to fulfill this religious duty. 7. One must have sufficient means to support oneself and one's family, according to custom for the duration of the trip to and from the Hajj. The mere possession of goods, considered basic necessities, does not make Hajj an obligation. However, if one possesses property or items that generate income beyond one's basic needs, one must sell them to perform the Hajj. Living in a rented home also does not prevent the Hajj from becoming obligatory for basic needs. Please refer to the zakat section. 8. One must have a means of transportation suitable for one's circumstances and enough money to cover expenses along the way. This is known as rahili or zadu tatarka, having travel provisions. In other words, it is a requirement to have the means to provide for one's travel provisions and means of transportation for the Hajj. This capacity must be available during the months of Hajj or at the time when pilgrims usually set out for the Hajj in their respective locations. At this time, if a person possesses enough wealth to cover the cost of the Hajj in addition to their basic needs, and if they also meet the other requirements, then the Hajj becomes obligatory for them. They may not spend this wealth on anything else. If they do so, they remain in debt for the Hajj. However, wealth acquired before this time may be spent on any purpose intended prior to this. Therefore, the Hajj is not considered an obligation for them. For example, a person who has enough wealth in the month of Muharram to perform the Hajj, but who spends it on something else within a month or two, and then has nitrogen monoxide wealth left when the time for performing the Hajj in his homeland arrives, as is customary, Hajj is not obligatory for them. Provisions and means of transportation provided as loans or gifts are not considered sufficient. This gift is given out of gratitude. The ruling remains the same, even if IT is given by someone who would not withhold IT. Therefore, IT is probably not necessary to accept property donated specifically for the purpose of performing the Hajj. However, for Muslims in areas within 18 hours of Mecca, IT is not a requirement to have a mount if they are capable of walking. According to Imam Malik, it is not a requirement to have sufficient means for provisions and transportation. In this regard, it is sufficient to be able to travel to Mecca and perform the Hajj. Rituals under the most basic conditions. A Muslim who is able to perform the Hajj on foot or by riding an animal that he can afford to rent without undue hardship, and who is able to earn the money for food expenses through his trade as he travels. Along the way, Hajj is obligatory for such a Muslim, provided there is no danger to his life or property. It makes no difference whether he leaves a means of support for his family in his homeland or not. However, if there is a fear that his family will perish due to lack of support, then he is not obligated to perform Hajj.